Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. People are still getting on, so we really appreciate you all being here today. And we have a very exciting visiting vignette. As you may or may not know, our visiting vignettes, I'm Jody Smith. I'm the program director for the Mended Hearts Inc. And we have with us today John Klimczak. And we are so excited for him to share some of his story. For those of you who don't know, our Visiting Vignette series is a series providing the patient perspective on a variety of different types of heart disease and different topics that affect people living with heart disease. And this one today is going to be about heart attack. So if you have questions during this presentation, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box, and that should be on your screen. And I see you typing in chat too. So just make sure, hello, Steve Hines. Just make sure that you type your questions in Q&A, and we will get to those right at in about 20 minutes. This is a 25-minute presentation. So I'm not going to talk any further, John, because we're really more excited to get to your story. Can you share a little bit about your story briefly and your experience with a heart attack?
Of course. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity. My name is John Klimczak, and I am a grateful heart attack survivor. My heart event occurred on October 12th, 2010. The way I remember that is it's 10/12/11, and it's etched in my brain. It started just like any other day. I was getting ready to go to work. I was a person in perfect health. I was 48 years old, very active, and I went to work. And by the time I got to work, I was having an extreme pain, like a Charlie horse in my left arm. And I was trying to shake it off because I'm active, and I thought it was just a muscle spasm. And I'd gotten to the parking lot of where I worked, and I'd gotten out, and I didn't take my briefcase because I wanted to walk off my arm. And someone in the lobby looked at me and said, "John, you're having a heart attack." And they called 911 apart from me knowing. I said, "No, I think it's just a Charlie horse." I said, "Well, let them decide." I come to find out that that gentleman who did that had a heart attack, and he saw the symptoms. He saw how I was walking. He saw I was shaking my left arm, and he just saw my disorientation. Needless to say, the ambulance came without sirens, but they came and said, "Well, where's the heart attack patient?" And I said, "I am, I guess." And they gave me some nitroglycerin under my tongue, and they said, "Okay, what hospital do you want to go to? Because we're going to send you for observations." I said, "Well, I first asked stupidly, which one takes my insurance?" And they all said, "Any of them, John, just choose one." Because so we got in the ambulance without sirens, and we went to Yukon Medical Center, which is right near my house. And I chose that because my wife could get there if I was going to be there for any length of time, and it was in a rural area, so it wasn't a city. And that came out to be the best decision I ever made, and God made it with me, because had I made any other decision, I wouldn't be here today for the following reasons. As I was traveling to Yukon, again, no sirens. I called my wife, said I'm going to the hospital. I got to the hospital. My wife was there filling out papers, and I was wheeled in. I was into the initial emergency room, and all I remember is that I sat up, ripped off my shirt, and I went down into full cardiac arrest. And I started. It was a code red throughout the entire hospital. And the reason it was such a notable choice on my part, or God's part, frankly, because had I gone to any other hospital, I live in the Hartford area. We have St. Francis, we have Hartford Hospital, all renowned cardiologists, cardiology specialists. I would never have gotten there because of the rush hour traffic. But as it was, I went into cardiac arrest for 35 minutes, and they tried everything to revive me, and they ended up doing a last-ditch effort of angioplasty, where they had to wheel me through the the public areas of the hospital, because normally angioplasty is something you schedule and then you come like 3 weeks next Tuesday and then you go. But they had to get me there quick, and they got me there, and they did their wonders, and they shocked me one more time with the paddles, and my heart started. And the doctor went out to see my wife after 45 minutes and said it's a very grave situation. He's got his heart started, but we don't know about his brain, his kidneys, anything else. And my wife Michelle had said, it's all right. God is in control. And I just want to share that because that's a spiritual side of things that really affect your outlook and your future, having had a heart attack and actually being fearful of such things. And the doctor sort of shook his head and wondered why, this is an odd thing for her to say, because given the news I just gave her. Well, as it turned out, I was put in ice for 40 hours. I was put into a medically induced coma. And after that, I was taken out, and my eyes fluttered, and first thing I said, because it was 6:30 on Thursday morning. This happened on a Wednesday. No, it was 6:30 on Friday morning. I'm sorry, Thursday evening, and I thought it was morning because I woke up. I said, "Where's my laptop? I'm late for work," because that was the last memory I had. And that's where the wonder of the medical community really was amazing, because there was a line outside my door of doctors to see me, not because I was anything special, but the fact that it never happens this way. It never happens this way. And they were just in awe of what occurred. And I was just so grateful. I want to share a video because I was interviewed by a TV station, and they also made a commercial about me. But I want to show you the interview or the little snippet they gave me, because it tells the story. But it's really in just respect and deference to the medical professionals that saved my life. So let me just share this really quick.
Attack survivors said thank you today to the hospital staff that helped save his life.
He returned to the hospital and served them lunch. NBC Connecticut's Deborah Bogsty has his story.
Greeting the people who saved his life, John Klimczak returned to the Yukon Health Center in Farmington to say thanks.
Through the grace of God and the amazing technology that's available, and the perseverance and just the teamwork of the medical staff here at Yukon, they preserved my life.
Klimczak, along with his wife and children, hosted this lunch for Yukon's cardiology, intensive care, and emergency staff. It was back in October when he started feeling pain in his chest and arm. His coworkers called 911, and he ended up at Yukon's emergency room.
When I got there, within 15 minutes, I had a massive heart attack. I had full cardiac arrest.
His heart stopped beating for 35 minutes. Dr. Michael Azrin was among those who helped save his life.
He seemed completely unrecoverable. Nothing was working. And we decided to very quickly do something heroic and to bring him to the catheterization lab and put in a pump, a balloon pump, to support him.
The surgery worked, and doctors were then able to get him breathing again.
And in somebody where nothing else is working, it is worth trying whatever it takes.
Just days later, he was back on his feet with no damage from the ordeal.
It's a miracle he's alive, and we're just very grateful to God, very grateful to all the men and women at Yukon who helped save his life.
A family forever thankful to those who saved his life.
I'm just blessed to be here. And I owe it all to God and to the Yukon medical staff.
Deborah Bogsty, NBC Connecticut News.
Think about going solar, but not sure whether well, before you get close, there are three things.
You just have to shut that down, John.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, good.
So that is a good snippet. Hopefully you're all able to hear that.
Yes.
I'll tell you that was the segue into getting into Mended Hearts, because I was so full of gratitude. I wanted to help. I wanted to share. And as that turned out, it was rather funny because I'm not sure if any of you were in the Northeast at that time, but there was a massive freak October snowstorm that took all the leaves, the leaves that were still on the trees, and it took out power to the metropolitan areas for like 11 days. It was crazy. And I was like scratching my head wondering what was I, put on this world to do at this point, because I was just saved. And it was just in awe of what my next steps were as a functioning human being, because I came out just like you see me now. I mean, it had no ill effects. It was just like a big 40 hours rest packed in ice. So I happened, there was a heart walk scheduled for the weekend afterwards. Actually, not the Saturday. I walked out of the hospital on Saturday after having had it happen on the Wednesday before. But a week later, I went to a heart walk, and I met John Dunn, who was the president of the Mended Hearts Chapter 9. And I shared this story with him, and he's a very good friend of mine. The whole team, Walter Covasini, everybody. Just because we're sharing our experiences and just supporting wherever we can, because this is a real thing, life changing. But there is life after it, and there's life before it. In terms of getting ready for such a procedure, if it's scheduled or whatnot. But again, it's life changing. So I'll take a breath now and just ask if there's any other questions.
Well,
or
I have a
anything.
couple questions for you first. And please, as I said, type any questions in the Q&A box you have for John. And I know everyone's experience with heart attack is slightly different, and people can have very different symptoms, especially women. But what would you say, aside from this whole event itself, which seems very surprising and a lot of good
Yes.
turns, luckily good turns, what would you say surprised you most about having a heart attack?
Well, I think the most up at the top of the list is, why did it happen to me? I mean, I don't really have a family history of heart disease. My father did have a cardiac event, but that was because of high cholesterol and poor eating habits. And I mean, I guess, once you have a heart attack, you have a heart disease, and that's how it works. And so there wasn't like a blood traced history of heart disease in my family, but I was the first one in my family, my siblings and myself. I'm the youngest of 5 kids to have it. And I'm thinking it's because I'm not going to, try to figure out why it happened, but the fact that it did happen really surprised me. And I will tell you that after this whole ordeal, and after I got out and just loving life and loving my family and thanking the medical professionals, I had the haunting question of why me, on both sides of the coin, meaning why did I have it, and why did I survive when
Yeah.
other people don't?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a tinge of survivor's guilt that is real. But you can make it work for you, because it's a blessing. It's grace that was given me, and I want to convey that in the most encouraging way possible. It was very scary, but I didn't really have time to be scared. My kids and my wife were petrified because they didn't know. But then again, my wife, as I mentioned, she gave it all up to God, and that helped her. So I think there's many different pieces to this, because it's peace. You just want peace in these situations. And I have a little adage, not to be religious or anything, but God is good always, and always God is good, meaning it is meant to be whatever it is. And again, I'm just trying to stress that I'm nothing special in terms of being saved because of who I am. It was just the medical professors professionals who were doing what they know and love to do. And that was a gift and a blessing that I really embrace and remember. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
every year on that date, 10, 12, 11, or 10, 12 in the year, I give them edible arrangement fruit basket, and they always know it's coming because I tell them. And they even people who don't work there anymore. I mean, they're new people. I said, "Oh, I've heard about you," because it's just brightening their lives and thanking them from every ounce of my existence that it's because of them that I'm here.
Yeah, well, it is, I think a lot from working with so many patients around the nation, a lot of people do have that twinge of survivor's guilt. That's not uncommon. And, it's great to be alive and help others is the Mended Hearts
Others,
motto. Yeah.
exactly.
Yes, and also I think people often find whatever their religion or spiritual beliefs, if any, or meditation, they find that is very helpful to them as well. We had a lot of people wondering, were you visited by Mended Hearts, and are you, what role do you play now? Are you a visitor?
Yeah, well, that's very good. I was not visited by Mended Hearts, but it's largely because I wasn't there long enough. There's two reasons, as I found out. It happened on Wednesday afternoon, and I walked out at 11 o'clock on that Saturday. So there wasn't a lot of time, and there was no real procedure to be scheduled and get into the queue to get visited. It was literally an emergency
Right.
procedure. They did an angioplasty, and the neat thing was that they did it right up my arm. They went up my femoral artery in my leg, and they went up, and it was all remote. It was all done like with, a Game Boy console, because the guy, I didn't see it, but he was like doing it from across the room, with cameras and everything. And then once they put the stent in, that's what really saved my life. They put a stent in, and that's when they shocked me and got my heart started again. And then they had to wait for the kidneys and everything to function out, and it did, thank God. So I wasn't there long enough, but also I will tell you that UConn did not have a Mended Hearts program, visiting program at that time, and unfortunately they still don't, largely because of COVID and the coordination aspect, and I also moved away from the area. I actually live on an island called Fisher's Island off the coast of Groton, New London now. So I would be the person who would be the spearheaded visitor, but I didn't visit at UConn. But in Mended Hearts Chapter 9, I happen to be the newly elected co-president with my
Nice.
co-president,
Nice.
Walter Covestini.
Yeah.
I'm the newsletter editor, and active sort of behind the scenes, because this island where I am only has 229 people on it, but it balloons to 3,000 in the summer. But there's no hospital or anything. We go over to on the ferry to New London, Connecticut, to go to the hospitals.
Yeah.
But I'm, at every turn I try to share my experiences and share about Mended Hearts, and it's largely embraced because it's everybody needs support, and everybody wants to give it once they've had a successful outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so grateful for all you do, John.
Oh, I'm very grateful.
We have another question of what kind of changes you made, and I had that in my list of questions
Oh,
as well.
good.
What kind to reduce your
Well,
risk and after your heart attack?
I have been ultra sensitive to my cholesterol numbers. As it turned out, it was I had a very high cholesterol, but I wasn't obese. It was sort of like a silent killer type of thing. I've since altered my diet to accommodate things as much as possible. I don't have any restrictions. At my echocardiogram that occurred after my event, they showed no lasting damage to my heart, which they were amazed at. And I was like, okay, grace from God, and just let's go forward. And I've been ultra sensitive of keeping my doctor visits, and just make sure I know my ranges, and just knowledge, the blood work, all the different contributing factors. And at every turn I share this in a professional way to the medical professionals, so they know that I don't have any medicines that will go against my person or my condition. But I've had to alter some of the medicines. I'm on a statin, which lowers your cholesterol. I'm on a few others that, just monitor your heart. And I go every year back to Yukon, in addition to the little gift. I go there just as a medical, because they know most about me, and they review things, and they do give me an EKG, and everything is going well. So I've just been very attentive and alert to the risk factors, as well as the highest challenge that I'm having right now is, to be honest, is the stress side of things, just life stress.
Yeah.
And that was a big contributing factor, I think, even back then. There's a lot of things going on in life, and it's mind over matter, but you have to, make sure that you're in control of things so that you can, be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And I try, take walks on the beach out here, and I just try to take some time to relax.
Yes. Well,
So,
John, we have a lot of people inspired by you in the chat box, including your friend
thank you.
Rick. And
oh,
so what people want to
these
know,
are
I'm going
great
to ask,
people.
I know. I'm going to ask you two questions, because one hopefully is a really quick one, because I would love for you to answer the second one before we have to sign off. But your cholesterol, if you're willing to share it, your cholesterol before your heart attack and now. And then the second one is, what myth do you feel like people have about a heart attack that you'd like to clarify?
Unfortunately, I don't have the actual numbers. Unfortunately, I know I'm well within my range. It's all about ranges with me, because I don't want to add to my stress and count the cholesterol numbers. And if like I
Right.
go up 2 in one day, it's not good. I just, I do it regularly, monitor my blood pressure. And I report to the doctor. I have texts going back and forth, and they, sometimes they say it's something in my life, like my daughter's wedding. I was nervous about it. I'm like, okay, you're just getting stressed over your daughter's wedding. Everything's fine, because
Yeah.
you're ultra sensitive about what occurred, and you're thinking you're having another one,
Yes.
but you're not, because it's sort of, you just have to give your mind a break.
Yeah.
And if your gut says you're doing well, don't listen to your brain, because your gut's
Yeah.
always going to be right. And that's where it's like, you just get that reassurance. It's a stepwise progression, and giving, people are genuinely trying to give support, and it's great to talk through these things with other people. That's where Mended Hearts is particularly important. And seeing all the people that I see on a monthly basis, and Rick being one of them, it's just great, because it's like we're all part of a team. We don't want to be part of the team, but we're part of the team, and let's support each other and support others, because this is real.
Yeah.
And the second question was, again,
just
the myth.
if there is any myth that you feel like people have that you want to say, like, people think this about heart attack, but this isn't true.
Yes.
You want to clarify?
Well, I think a myth, in my estimation, would be that it can't happen to me, because no matter what you are in life, wherever you are in life, it can happen to you for various reasons. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but I didn't think it was going to happen to me. And again, even when it was happening, the left arm, that was a key thing. One little piece of information that I'll tell you, that after I was getting ready to be discharged, the nurse came in and had a 3-hour conversation with me about my life after my heart attack. And she brought out this book. She, page by page, this is what you had. This is like, oh, wow. I said, I don't believe you. How could you have done this in 2 days? He said, and they looked at me and said, John, we didn't do this in 2 days. You are just a textbook copy of what we know. This is all the information that we've built up, even to the pain in the left arm. I'm like, yeah, that was me. How did you get that into the paper so quickly? I'm like, John, and she was like smiling when she said that, John, it's not all about you. I mean, we know about this, and this is what caused yours, and it causes anybody. But to that point, I won't necessarily, every time I get a sore arm, I won't think I'm having a heart attack because I knew the sensation. I knew that it's not applicable necessarily on a daily basis,
Yeah.
but it can happen to anybody. And if you just read, snippets of the dizziness, the sweatiness, the heart palpitations, it's real, and you should just go see a medical professional as soon as you can and get it, looked at. Don't push it off because
Absolutely.
it comes in waves.
Yes. Well, John, thank you so much. This has been
You're
absolutely
welcome.
delightful. People had a few more questions, but we're out of time. So I just want to thank you
I
for
can stay if you
sharing.
want, but
We gotta get shut down.
stay.
But people, thank you so much for sharing your experience and helping us understand a little bit more about heart attack from the patient perspective. We appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
And the
My
next
pleasure.
visiting,
My
thank
honor.
you. Good. Well, we are just so delighted to have you here. But the next visiting vignette will be in July, so look for that, and we will have another story on another type of heart disease. So bye everyone, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Take care.